Hi everybody, welcome to Les Secrets, and this is Anna. Angela is a bit under the weather, so I'll be doing most of the explanation today about our first pick a card reading. And by the time you hear this audio, it'll be released on Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's. And today's sort of pick a card reading centers around the following topic. What is the major theme or lesson that I have to learn in 2018 to improve my love life? So, if you have been following us for the last little bit, or if you're a new audience with us and you don't know how this works, this particular reading will require you to go look up your birth chart in astrology birth chart. And you'll have to find out where your Venus landed when you were born. So, for example, if you were born in 1984 and if you were born in the end of March, your Venus will be landed in Pisces, okay? Stuff like that. So if you have a question about I don't really know the exact time that I was born at, if, I don't know if it's in the morning, in the afternoon, or at night, don't worry. Venus usually takes about 20 something days to 4 months to finish a rotation in a specific zodiac sign. And so the chances of you being in the cups area is less. Well, I mean, it's still gonna happen, but if you have a huge question about whether you're not sure whether which sign you are, let us know, and let Angela and I will try to find out for you as best as we can. If you're in the cups area, so when we say cups area, that means that you sort of fall in between the borderline of one sign and the other. Of course, sometimes there will be influences from both signs, so you could definitely look up either one of the signs and have a sort of a combination reading from there. So without further ado, we are gonna start with the first group of the readings that we did. So this is for the people whose Venus is in the cardinal signs. So when we say cardinal signs, that means that your Venus either landed in Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn. So you look at the first picture here. These tarot cards are from the Illuminati tarot card deck, and if you pick number one is the Major Arcana deck. Number 14, the Temperance in the inverted position. So the Temperance, it has this purification connotation in the deck. So in its upright position, it's like your mind meets your heart and your body is in all this balanced state, and it has this constant flow from one to the other, so this very balanced and purification kind of the meaning to it. When it's inverted, usually there is a separation between the higher self and then from the lower instinctive self. So it also could be meaning that letting the instinctive self takes over of your whole being. For example, Instinctive self may be like, your greed, your gluttony, your lust, like very impulsive, instinctive behaviors. So sometimes it could mean that you don't know what to do, or you blindly move from one end to the other without purpose. You could feel empty and unsatisfied. So for the people who pick card number 1, your major theme in 2018 is to return to the card before Temperance. This is sort of like a tarot, like a terminology. When we have a major arcana card or a small arcana card, we look at the card before when you have a card in inverted position. So the card before Temperance is actually number 13, Death. However, it does not mean the actual death, as in your physical body dying. Death could mean ending of one thing. It could mean that it could also mean that even though there's an ending, this ending is not the end of the journey, because Death card in tarot is only the number 13. Through the death or giving up something, letting go of something, then we find our way to the next part of our journey. So here, the major lesson is to allow more change to happen, or allow more closure to come into your love life. Don't forget about the cycle of life. If you don't let go, nothing can come in. And this reminds me of one of the story that I read from the Awakening, the Book of Awakening. And this is not like a new age. It's not a new age type of book. It's actually a self-help book. And so one of the story is that the author was trying to repaint one of his studio or his house, and he has his brush in his mouth. He has huge bucket of paint, one in each hand. He also had some other things he had tugged under his arm, and he's like sort of like walking like, not in a very balanced state. While he was trying to open the door to get in, he found out he got stuck because he no matter how he turned, he's gonna get stuck, and his paint is getting heavier and heavier in his hands, and then all of a sudden he lost balance, and guess what? Paint poured all over the floor. And that's sort of where you are right now. You don't know, you sort of is limping a little bit. You, instead of teaching, because like if you have learned the lessons from the Death card, you have more awareness of like the cycle of life, the ebb and flow in life now. So when you get to number 14, you know this is a process. You now understand the process, so you rise to a higher self, and then you'll be able to start applying things to life, or teach other people how to do this. When it's inverted, that means that you sort of didn't learn the lesson properly, and you move on to the next stage. So by the time, it's kind of like you didn't learn, university first year, you didn't do calculus right. By the time in the second year you have to do calculus 2, oh, guess what? You kind of don't know what you're doing. So that's where you are right now. So it's time to look at the past. Let whatever needs to end comes to an end, comes to term with it. Okay. If you pick card number 2, you have 3 of Swords in the inverted position. 3 of Swords is a very tough card to deal with, because it's symbolized with a lot of pain and sorrow. However, in this situation, it is in an inverted position. So what happened is that you might be fighting your emotion at the moment with all of your energy. The pain, the sadness, the loss is overshadowing your life. However, the silver lining in this is that you were able to suppress these negative emotions before. Somehow, it's not working as well anymore. So now it's time to find a new method to move on from these negative emotions. So the best way that in psychology people would recommend is that you start reconcile with the past. Sometimes there's no you don't know the why. Like the people will they're no longer around you, or you don't want to talk to them anymore, right? Sometimes that's that. And so just accept the fact that sometimes there is no why. Just simply, and that will bring anger. That will bring tremendous anger. And so bear with it, accept it. So when we say about returning to the card before, if you didn't hear this from the last part of the card, that means that we look at the card before when you're in the inverted position. So when you try to protect yourself from the negative thoughts, you block not only the pain and sadness, but also a chance to grow. Don't forget that you are the one who chooses to block your emotions. And you also have the power to confront them. It's kind of like the Schrodinger's cat theory. You don't know whether the cat is alive or not unless you open that box. So, and when I wrote this down, I was trying to say, I know the emotion is very overwhelming, and you are trying to block it out. But you don't know what will happen when you fully learn how to accept and be, just be with the emotions. Later on, it might not even mean anything anymore. And that's where we want to go to. We want to be able to forget. We want to be able to forget about or forgive the person, and sometimes that could bring out even more problem. But so I want to leave you with something if you are not familiar with this concept. In theater and performance, in acting, theater, voice performance, that was what I was trying to say. In psychology, we talk about the 5 stages of grief and loss. So the first stage is denial or isolation. So you sort of start denying the situation, you isolate yourself. The second stage is anger, so being very angry. And third stage is bargaining. It's kind of like, you start talking to like people or like the situation or God. It's like, I will be good. I will improve. I will get better. I'll promise I'll be a better person so that you can bargain for something in return. The fourth stage is the depression stage, and I feel like I don't have to explain a lot here. Then after that stage, you might have a chance to come to the acceptance of the situation. And then to me, and this is sort of how I preach about this ideology, is that only when you have acceptance, then you'll be able to fully understand the other party, or you fully understand like the situation itself, and then maybe there's nothing you can do, maybe there's something you can do, maybe it has nothing to do with you or the other party. It's just the metaphysics, is just the universe, the karma, and then there's nothing you can do there. So acceptance, understanding, then after understanding, you will forgive and forget. Okay, you try to forgive yourself, you forgive the other person, you forgive the universe. Well, not that it has anything to do with you, but you forgive, and then you move on. And the ultimate moving on is like, after 20 years or 30 years, when somebody says, hey, you remember that thing you were so angry about, and you're like, no, not really, I don't remember anymore. And that's a true move on, and that's where we want to go to. So I encourage you, if you want to read more, there's definitely more you can read about that. Okay, so number 3 is the World card, which is the number 21 in the Major Arcana card. However, this card is inverted. And when the World is inverted, you are kind of losing control. You're not ready to move on from the experience you have learned in the past. It is somehow there's, it is a matter of time. It's only a matter of time to get what you really want into your life or into your hand. However, this card is asking you, do not settle. This is only a peak before climbing to the top of the mountain. You haven't really finished your journey yet. Keep your happiness, joy, and optimism close. So if we look at the card before the World card, because in the inversion we look at the card before. So the card before the World is number 20, Judgment. And if you're familiar with biblical references, this is sort of the time where all the angels start making the trumpet calls, and so to bring old life to bring the dead into life, to call upon disaster, to bring conclusion, all sorts of things. So it's kind of like a mixture of old and new, to live a more meaningful life, in a sense. And you start looking at the things that happened in the past, because that's where the Judgment Day is. You look at things in the past and look at things for what it is, and then collect the fruits from your past experience. So maybe it's a bad fruit, it tastes awful, or maybe it's a glorious fruit and you'll be satisfied with it. And so for the people who picked number 3, your major theme is to ask you to look at things for what it is at this moment. Maybe this applies to single, whether you're single, you're dating, or you have a partner. Look at your love life for what it is right now, and re-examine the past. See if there's any reoccurring pattern in love that you have started seeing again, and stop ignoring those signs. Don't pretend that everything is fine. Take courage to challenge these reoccurring patterns. If you have to leave, don't be afraid to do so. So the reason that I really want to emphasize this is that, and this is a message to my friend who's out there who might be listening. I know it is a very scary thought to move to the next stage. Whether you're staying with a person, you're leaving the person, or you're entering marriage. The unknown is the scary part to all of us. If you see a reoccurring pattern from your past experience, for example, like for some reason the guy kept entering your life, kept leaving for the same reason, because then it has to be reoccurring, right? Or that for some reason your husband kept lying to you for really trivial things, or for some reason you just can't stop being angry over the fact that he doesn't wash dishes. They all could have, all these things could have a meaning behind it. For example, you can stop the fact being angry at him not washing dishes because maybe your father who left you doesn't wash dishes. And you saw your mom crying over washing dishes, crying about your dad leaving. This could be very possible. So I want you to take a look at what happens in the past and really find out what are the things that made you who you are today. Because you're so close of getting the final success, the ultimate satisfaction. The world card in the upright position is like this complete world with flowing elements. It's like nirvana, valhalla. This is like your ultimate happiness. Nothing could be better than this card, and you're just having like an inversion of it, right? So you're so close. You're like the last 0.5 step getting there. So this is your last step. Don't be afraid to challenge your thought, challenge yourself. It's just a 0.5 step. I think you can do it. Congratulations, you're on the track. So I hope the best for you. And for the people who pick card number 4, the card number 4 is 5 of Swords inverted, and it usually symbolizes some sort of argument and tension. When it's in the inverted position, you were able to do some sort of self-reflections even after like a disagreement or fight. There is the possibility for positive communication between the party who are in this argument or tension. This card is asking you, it's time to listen and try to understand the other party. Get ready for taking your share of the responsibility in this disagreement. So when I wrote this, I want you to, I hope that you will be able to do the following things. Remember that a disagreement is only a disagreement when both parties are disagreeing with each other. If one of you totally agree with the other, there's no disagreement, right? The disagreement has to be like two polarizing forces pulling, pushing away from each other. So you have part of the share in this disagreement, and it's time to start examining that. The card before, Sword of 5, is the Sword of 4. It's asking you to take a step back. Spend some time thinking in solitude so that you can strengthen yourself or your relationship in a positive way. When we say solitude, we really, really mean take some time to spend time with yourself. Spending time in a house where there's another person is not solitude. Solitude is like you alone. I know that I do not recommend you to go into the woods by yourself. That's actually not entirely safe unless it's broad daylight, and then you have this friend that sort of like observe you in distance, like 2k, like 1 km away from you. It's kind of extreme, but we want you to be safe when you're alone, right? You get what we're saying here. So spend some time, sitting by the beach in broad daylight. Be safe, or sit in the middle of the park where everybody can see you, sort of that kind of the thing. Spend some solid solitude time to reflect on your relationship is the major lesson for you. Okay, so card number 5 is the Ace of Pentacles in the inverted position. So pentacles are like the little coins kind of looking thing. If you are interested in how it normally look in the Rider-Waite White Tarot, sort of like the first person who did the painting for tarot cards. So usually in an upright position, this means having enough money to execute your plan, which is a good thing. But now this is inverted. So all of the aces cards, like, you know, there's Ace of Pentacles, there's Ace of Swords, Ace of Cups, Ace of Wands. They represent the different suits in poker. And that's where we got our poker cards coming from. And this one, of course, is a diamond. And in the inverted position, it actually doesn't go to another card, unlike the other numbers or the major arcana card. This one does not go to the one before. So it is the reason. There's a reason. The reason is because this card is kind of like the seed card. So SED, seed. And so when it's inverted, you're in the upright position, and that means that, you know, you're sort of growing this thing, like your money, your love, your emotions, your thoughts, or your power strength from the seed. That sort of, the seed is sort of like the perfect meeting point of converging point of your metaphysics, your abstract energy meeting and you're bringing into the physical world. So this is like the converging point of your mental world meeting the physical world. So when it's inverted, that means that money or chances are slipping away from your hand. It could be a relationship that might not be quantitative. Let me read that again. It could be a relationship that might not bring quantitative benefits, but could give you spiritual growth. You lack the ability to physically start a new project. So what does that supposed to mean? In this stage where you are in your life, there is this lack of physical energy. So when I say physical energy, it could be like you don't have enough strength, you're too busy, or you're sick, you're tired, you have too many things going on that takes, like, literally spread your energy really, really thin. However, there is this, physical as in, like, you know, physical energy or money. Remember, this is a pentacle card. So your money is spread a little bit elsewhere. So you don't have this combined energy in the physical world to start something new. However, there is a lot of chance for you to grow spiritually. Because when we talk about spiritual growth, it could be like, you know, start meditation, start doing yoga, spend time with friends, talk to a mentor. And that often is free, right? Often. I'm not saying always. Often. So don't forget that. This relationship that you're in right now, or where you're at right now, for the people who are single, of course, I would recommend you take some time to start that spiritual growth. Because when you have the mental stability and strength, it will bring power to your physical and money wise. It'll come to you. And I know this is some sort of, like, you know, law of attraction thing that some of you might not totally agree on, but I'm just gonna say this. You know, there is, you know, we all, well, I mean, We all heard about like the person who is talented but doesn't work hard, and then the person who has no talent but who work hard every day. You know, it's kind of like that. But let me say this. So let's say two equal geniuses in the same area. One works very hard every day, the other doesn't work as hard. Who is gonna have more chances at the end, right? I'm not talking about one is not genius, right? I'm talking about they're both equally genius in the same field. The person who has more mental perseverance, who has more patience, who works harder, who is gonna, you know, make it out there faster than the one who's not. So that's sort of for the single person who picked this card. I strongly urges you that maybe this is a time to spend less money and, you know, spend less money into your love life. Spend some time doing something that's gonna cultivate your spiritual growth. So for singles and dating, actually, for both of them, you know, instead of buying a dinner that worth $50, maybe can you cook the same type of food at home? So instead of going out for steak, can you cook steak at home? That's, you know, stuff like that. There's always a way. And at this moment, you should focus on the quality, like the spiritual quality, that like you really understand the other person, understand your need, understand the other person's needs, instead of like presenting yourself in a financial way kind of thing. For the person who's having like who's already in like a permanent relationship, I mean, it's not really permanent. I want to say that word, but I hope that's the case. So if you're already married or you're in a common law situation and you're like, well, that doesn't really apply to me anymore. Like, I don't have to demonstrate financial stability to the other party. You know, then what do I get out of this card? Remember that in the beginning of explaining this card, I talk about like, you know, you lack the ability to physically start a new project. And this is the thing. Maybe you are at the point where you want to start a new project. That could be getting married, buying a new house, you know, adopt a pet, have a child, or investment. You want to start a new journey. You want to start a new project. Or maybe it's just like both of you want to go take a lesson together, like in or like you want to start counseling, stuff like that. So okay, I have to apologize because then there's some like my dad is trying to do some construction thing in the basement. So if you hear any of the knocking sound, like, I apologize. So for people who are in a relationship right now, like a stable relationship, and if you don't know what this card, why you got this card, maybe you want to do something. Maybe you want to start traveling together, you know, retire and travel together. This might not be a fantastic idea at this moment, because in this card, usually in the Rider White Tarot card, it's a on the card you'll see a picture, a hand coming out of nowhere in the sky holding a pentacle, holding a coin. And when it's inverted, it no longer can hold the coin anymore, right? So to me, it seems that for some reason you have this goal that you want to go to. You have this thought in your mind that this is where that you want to start implementing things. You want to make it work. However, you don't have enough strength to support that. Or maybe that ideal is just not right, not like the most perfect idea that suits your situation right now, right? I mean, if you have like an inverted hand, you can't hold on to things anymore, you know, maybe there's, you know, instead of holding a coin, could you know, hold on to something else? I don't know, I'm just mumbling now. But having to say that there is that feeling of not ready. Like, I feel like the world, like, you're just, the message coming here is like you just want things because it's there. It's almost feeling like I want this because other people are having this. Like, it's kind of like, you know, those like doctor's wife is like, you know, I read this funny story. It's like in the Upper East Side of Manhattan, everybody has the Birkins, and there's like a symbol, and it is this upper society, and this archaeologist moved to Upper East Side of Manhattan, and she ran into this like super rich mom of her neighborhood, and this mom literally used the Birkin bag to hit her on the shoulder, like pretending to walk past her. It's like, whoops, my Birkin bag smashed into your shoulder, kind of the thing. And she's like, this archaeologist was like, holy crap, like this is like, you know, in ancient time where I okay, first of all, I don't know, is anthropologist, I think it's anthropologist instead of archaeologist. This scientist was like, you know, holy crap, this is like where monkeys used to throw each other, like you throw their poop at each other, you know, to like show like territory and stuff like that. So I feel like this is the energy coming from this card. It's like you have these things that you want to go after, but like you're kind of in the stage of like, I don't care, I want to get it, but it's actually not in your best interest at this moment. If you are sort of in that time right now, I would urge you to spend some time thinking about why. Like, why do I want this thing? Why is it important? How, like, you know, do like sort of like all the things that the self-help book would tell you to do, like, you know, analyze your, or like even like writing essay, like what other 5 W's, like who, what, why, when, how, and do analysis, and then do like, if you are like super gung-ho about like financial plannings, like look at your cash flow, look at your balance sheet, you know, try to figure out how you're gonna get there. It's probably healthier than holding on to the thoughts of like, you know, I just want that. You know, stop being a whining kid. I know it's gonna sound very harsh at this moment. Stop whining and think of how you're gonna get there. Do you need to pick up a second job? You know, do you have to, what do you have to do here? Maybe you guys are spending way too much right now. Maybe you have to sacrifice. I don't know, but it's time for you to reanalyze where you are right now. Look at where that seed that you want to plant. Like, is this the right environment? If in order for me to grow this seed here, do I have the right combination of chemicals in the soils? Do I have enough water? Do I have enough sunshine? Do I need a lot of sunshine? Is there like a particular type of water that I need to feed it? Those kind of stuff. So go through that, and I think you will be able to move on to the next step. Okay, that's a lot of talking, and I thank you for staying with us. And I'm gonna stop the voice clip right here so that I can record a separate track for the next group of people. Okay, peace out. Okay, so now we are going to look at the fixable signs, and the cards that you have picked. So this sort of this set of the 5 pick a card reading is done using the Book of Shadow Tarot. And if your Venus is in fixed signs such as Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, then look at the 5 cards, pick a card, or if you have picked the card already, and you can look at the following timestamp to go to your reading. So the Book of Shadow Tarot sort of name things a little bit slightly differently than the traditional Rider-Waite White Tarot. And so I'll be doing a little bit explanation of that. If you are a tarot fan or you've done tarot reading all the time, that's sort of, I'll give you sort of like the name of the card. And so if you want to look up more information online, you can do so. So the first card, if you pick card number 1 in this set of 5, the first card is Mother of Water, which is also the Queen of Hearts. And it's usually talks about success through listening to your feelings. When the Queen of Hearts is in the upright position, the center of your relationship always involves people you love. And you contribute your time and efforts to them. If you run into a problem, you might not say what you feel and set aside your emotional troubles so that you can listen to others. You should not keep ignoring things that are bothering you anymore and learn to listen to your heart and intuition. So basically this card, if you pick this card number 1, it's asking you to listen to your feelings and your needs. You have been wonderfully selfless in the past. In 2018, in order to improve your love life, it's time for you to start sharing your needs and your wants to the people around you. And I mean, this, do it kindly. Like, it's hard. Changes are hard. People are gonna, when you first start doing that, they have to get used to the fact that you're starting to do that. And because you now start to express your needs and wants, there might be times where people might not be able to respond to your needs and wants, and that's very fair. You just have to learn that it's okay. And if your needs and wants are not met, learn to communicate with another person and find out a way to meet those needs. So do not go back to the old way. Your old way is when your needs and wants are not met, it's okay, I'll do them, it's okay. Like, like, for example, you're the type of person that said, if someone forgets to tell you where to go to pick up certain things, you're like, oh, it's totally okay, I still have time, I can go there, just send me the address, it's okay. And then you found out it's like about like a 20-minute drive from where you are right now. She's like, oh, it's okay, I can it's on my way, I can do this, I can go grocery shopping while like going there and pick up things, don't worry. Like, you're that type of person, okay? So when you start trying to tell people like, I kind of don't want to do that, people have to adjust to the new you. So give them some time and allow the changes to happen. Because bottling up, it's kind of like cooking an egg in the microwave. There's energy that you contain within. You're like, oh, outside you look fine. Guess what? When you microwave it for like 2 minutes, it's probably gonna start exploding. That's not something that we want to see. So remember that to start sharing your needs and wants. Okay, so before we move on to card number 2, if you skip ahead into like the timestamps and you're not sure why, like there's like a construction banging that happens, like it's in this recordings because my dad is doing renos in the house, and yeah, this is like 8:13 at night. Okay, so I don't know why all of a sudden that he's needs to chime in, but maybe this is the divine that's trying to tell us that there's a rhythm in this universe. No, I'm just kidding with you. No. Okay. So Ace of Water is, if you pick number 2, Ace of Water or the Ace of Cup is your card, but however, it's in the inverted position. So Ace of Water usually means satisfaction through connecting with your emotions. So having that emotion connecting with your physical world. And when it's inverted, the hand no longer are the hand. So I have to explain a little bit about that. Sorry, my shorthand note is sometimes skips so fast. So in the traditional picture of the Rider-Waite tarot, you have this hand coming out of thin air in midair holding a cup. Okay, so inside a cup is like, wine or holy water, whatever that suits you, but that means that the cup is full, you're satisfied, happy in life, you have everything in the cup for you. When it's inverted, the hand no longer able to hold onto the cup. There will be like emptiness in emotions and soul, because the water in the cup is falling out from the sky, right? And in this card, because unlike the major arcana card or the rest of the number card in the traditional tarot, the ace card actually doesn't go to any other card. It actually is the beginning of all cards in the minor arcana. So the ace usually it's kind of like a seed card. So it's SEED. It's like you have the seed of wonderful things, and the ace card is your first step to grow the seed. And when the ace card is in an inverted position, that means that there's something wrong with, not with the seed itself, it's with the environment that you're providing with the seed. So that means that you're not having, there's an emotional emptiness, blockage that is stopping the seed to grow. And the Ace of Water, one thing I want to remind everyone is that the Ace of Cup, the Ace of Water, it's like you have the seed of love, the seed of the relationship that you're about to grow. So this seed now excitingly awaits you, right? And it's there. You have it in you. All you're missing is the right condition to blossom it, to make the seed crack, and then the seed starts sprouting, everything like that. So you have it in there. You have it in you. Now it's just to spend some time, find out what's the potion, what is the right mix of everything to raise the seed, to sprout it. And if you're single, finding there, actually, whether you're single, you're dating, or you're in a partnership, doesn't matter which one you are, there is a book that I would recommend, or even like a site that I would recommend you to go visit. I recently saw another YouTube famous celebrity that made comments on this, and it's is very inspirational. When I first read it, you can go online. It's called The 5 Languages of Love, and if you type it in onto Google, you'll find it. I think it's 5languagesoflove.com. I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on that. and is the author is this book. I think the author has like is like Christianity person, like a priest or something. I'm not 100% sure. I'm so sorry about this. But I know that I have friends who when they go to retreat, like Christianity retreats, they talk about like marriage, and this is the book they use. But don't get me wrong, this is like so applicable to for anyone, whether you're religious or not. It talks about how we express this love, right? And so, for example, everybody values things a little bit differently based on your culture, your home situations. Everybody has a different way of experiencing love. So, for example, some people need the word of affirmation. So you actually need to tell people, like, oh, honey, you look sexy, you're so pretty, you're doing a good job. Those are the things that you want to hear. Some people, they actually want physical gifts, because it doesn't matter if the gift is like a Lamborghini or it's just like a paper clip. It really doesn't matter. It's a thought of giving something. It could be like a love poem that you wrote on a piece of paper. Even if it's just a line paper, they don't care. It's the act of giving that they value, right? So if they're personally, so there's that. So I think the five different love is like word of affirmation, quality time spent together, the act of service or doing something for the other person, physical touch, and then the gifts, right? Receiving gifts. So go read online. There's actually a quiz you can do online for free, okay? And it's very good. It's a very long quiz, but trust me, it's worth it. When you find out about your 5 languages of love in terms of like a sequence, then you could coach the other person to come and help you sprout your seed of love. Okay, so go take that test. It's extremely helpful for single dating person, or even if you're in the partnership. Trust me, just go read that, go crazy on that, and have fun. Okay, so if you're in number 3, if you pick number 3, you will see this card it says Roman numeral 8, and it's called spell casting. And in the traditional Rider-Waite tarot, you will see this image of a lady has like sort of like holding back or petting or having this lion as a beside her as a companion. And it is kind of like Beauty and the Beast, right? And then, so that means that you have this power, that having this femininity side, that you have this power over this animal beastie sort of force, the action, the instinct, the survival instinct, right? So so when this card is in the upright position, which you can see in the picture, you have enough power and courage that will allow you to foster a sense of bonding. Don't try to control or be controlled by your fear. You have enough power to deal with everything, and you don't have to escape out of fear. So I guess like it's kind of like, people who, train. I know it's like animal cruelty, but think about people who used to train tiger for a performance, or like lion, right? Don't you think they have like a slightest fear that this beast is gonna turn on them anytime, right? And so this is kind of like that. But in the Rider Tarot, it's safer than that. It's like you have this fear, but if you look at the card, you have everything under control, right? It's kind of like the it almost feels like the lion in this Rider Tarot is not a beast, is somebody who has power and wisdom, right? and so they don't freak out too much. I know that if you get this card, there is that sort of like you think a lot. You have that self-doubt. Like you think a lot because you have some sort of self-doubt from moment to moment. But the card is asking you to take courage and trust yourself, that even if the fear, like what you fear comes true, even if that happens, you have all the power, all the tools that you need to overcome whatever things come at you. Okay? It's kind of like in Chinese, what we say is like, if there's a ghost in front of you, cut right through it. You kill it, you slay whatever's in front of you, and you move on. And that's kind of what the card is telling you right now, is to, you've got this. So for 2018, just let things come right at you, because, oh boy, you are ready. Have courage. And for the people who pick number 4, this card is the Mother of Air, and or the Queen of Spades, or Queen of Swords, whichever you like to call it. And it's in the upright position. That means success. You will have success resulted from deep thinking. So in the upright position, and there is usually an understanding resulted from the combination of emotion and wisdom or logic with patience. It's time to logically analyze your emotions. Your past experience have taught you to be aware and careful of new engagement or promises. If you get this card, I think you might be more likely to be single, or you are dating somebody that you haven't really entered this agreement stage. And a lot have happened in the past, and now you have this like understanding, you have all this wisdom. This card is asking you to let your logic side be the ruler for the next little while, at least for 2018, because you now have this beautiful brain that you sort of developed, you nurture throughout your past experiences. Let them be the ruler. And sometimes we want to follow our heart, and this is not the time to do that. And I'll share some like little info about this. I get this card a lot, and I have my Venus in Pisces, and I like jump into, like, I fall in love really quickly, and my sun sign is Aries, which make it kind of worse in relationships. So I jump into things very easily. It's very easy for me to feel the other person. I can, because I'm very spiritually aware in terms of like I'm kind of like an empath. I'm not sure if that's the word to use, but I can sense the other person in terms of like, are they a nice person or not? I can tell if they're a psychotic or not, right? Or like they have bad intentions, or stuff like that. And that is very dangerous, because you're kind of like, oh, this person is a nice person, you fall in love really quickly, and then you sort of went into this pattern of like, oh, they're not that into you, right? I get that a lot, but that's okay. But your logic brain will. So what if I got this card, my logic brain is literally telling me that, slow down, like, don't ignore the signs. if you think it's not okay, it's really not okay from time to time, right? You hear that before. It's kind of like, if you know that you're asking other persons, like, what do you think? Do you think this is okay? And deep down, there's a part of you that's like not okay, and you want to analyze that. So this card is asking you to do some deep thinking. If you are the person who tends to reply text messages very quickly, spend some time to think about it. What are they trying to ask? Stuff like that. And I apologize for the banging that you kept hearing. It's like 8:30 now. My father is still very persistent about finishing his rental project at home. And so if that kind of bothers you when you're listening to your reading, I totally apologize, but I have no control over it. So that's okay. So moving on to card number 5. And if you have card number 5, and this is the 3 of air, or 3 of swords, or 3 of spades. And the first thing that this card is asking you is to accept your pain and sorrow. You might be in some pain now, or you might encounter them really in the near future, pain or loss. This card is asking you to embrace it so you can move on. Remember, accept is the first step to heal yourself so that you can understand your situation and then to forgive and forget. And then I want to tell you that it's okay. When we're talking about embracing, it does not mean that you have to snap out of it, right? That's not what we're saying. A lot of the times, it will take all of your effort just to sit beside your emotion. It's kind of like your emotion is like a person. Let's personify it a little bit. It will take all of your energy, self-control, and courage to just sit beside it and spend time with it. And it's asking you to do that. Let the emotion come to you, but remember, your emotions are like waves. It comes and goes, right? In Chinese, we talk about there's this heart space. It's kind of like your heart chakra. Your emotions are just like waves that go through in and out. All of emotions gonna stir up this heart space. But remember, this heart space is not you. Your heart space does not change you as a human being. Your human being is it's a combination of the old you, the new you, and the future you. It's a combination of your experiences, your wisdom, your everything, right? It's the whole package. It's not just your emotion. So let that comes and goes. Remember, there's things that you can control. There's things that you cannot control. There's things that only other people have to control. Try to spend time talking to other people, to self-reflect. If you have to take time to miss the other person, do that. It's okay to do that, but you want to do that while taking care of yourself. So I also want to talk about the 5 stages of grief and loss. And we talk about this I believe in psychology. I learned this through acting. Because I was taking like voice performance lessons, and we talk about this, the 5 stages of grief and loss as sort of part of the acting skills. So the first stage is denial and isolation. So you start you pretend that this didn't happen. And the second stage is anger. So you become angry at the situation, about yourself, or at the other person, or at God, whatever. So you're angry at, you want to get your anger, you want to blame somebody for things. The third stage is bargaining. So like, you will be like, I'll be a good girl if, like, so that you give me this in return. I will exercise now if you give my health back. I will love you more if you stay, right? That's the bargaining stage. And then you go into depression. It's the fourth stage, because you know that no matter what you do, nothing is gonna change. So you go in this depressed stage. And 5, after the depressed stage, you finally learn to accept it, because there is nothing you can do, and you accept the fact, and then you try to move on. So what often when I said to other people is that after accepting, then you have a chance to start understanding, right? You start understanding why the other person does this, why the other person cheat, or why did your friend backstab you, or why this is happening. You start understand, right? Maybe it's just like, oh, like, I have no control over things. Like, I can only be responsible for myself. And that's the why. Like, there's no why. Sometimes you just understand that. And then you forgive. You forgive yourself, forgive the other person, forgive things that you have no control over. And then you forget. Maybe you don't forget right away. But, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, you're gonna forget. You're gonna forget. The first thing you're gonna forget is the emotion that you were in at that time. And that's a good thing. Because then, like, it's that situation, it's not the memory of it, it's the emotions of it sometimes still influences us, right? When I went through my serious breakup a couple years ago, that was sort of the first thing that I realized is like, oh, every time I thought about like all those things, there's this emotion that is still bothering me. And whenever I think about it, of course there's still gonna be tears, and then there's second stage is like you're still gonna feel this like turning yucky feeling in your heart space. And and then I finally really make peace with it. I think the first stage, as I try to force myself to verbally say to this imaginary person in my head, I was like, I forgive you, even though I really didn't, and I just like forced myself saying that first. And then just about 2 months ago, I had like a really forgiving moment, and then through that, like, I really let go. Like, I now, like, from time to time I'll dreamed about the person, but I know it's not him. Like, it's because the reason that he's in my dream is because the quality of the things that happening in my dream that I never had it with other people, right? Like, for example, I never, like, I moved back home, right? So I never really lived with another, like, a opposite sex that's not family, in the past couple of years. And then, so, when I dream about marriage life in my head, it's him, right? It's my ex. But does not mean that I want my ex, right? No, it's not that. It's deep down, I know it's because I long for, like, a steadier life now. And to me, I have no substitute, right? It's not like I can substitute it with, like, George Clooney, or like, it's not that. Sorry, I don't really watch movies, so like I can only remember like the old stars. I'm sorry about that. I'm not that old. But it's not like I can, like, I don't even know, like, who's popular, like Chris Evans, I guess. Like, they're not the person that I have spent time with. So I actually have completely understanding of that, and trust me, you will come to that. I know it sounds like a million years away from you right now, and for the next little bit, when you're gonna feel like closed in, you're gonna feel alone. So don't be afraid. Like, literally seek help. Go spend some time with a friend. Go find a friend you can call up like 1 in the morning. That's what I did. I think I moved home so I can have some sort of people company, like 247, right? Like, literally, like, seek help. Like, if you know you have to do whatever you like, you have to do everything to keep yourself into a good place. And I strongly suggest you do that. No matter what you do, just go do that. Okay, we'll be here for you. If you have any questions, if you need to reach out to Le Secret Consulting, like, you need to reach out to Angela or me, it's perfectly okay. We'll be here. We might not be there 247 for you, but we're sending lots of love your way, and we'll try our best to be there for you, okay? So that concludes our reading, sort of like the explanation for the fixed signs. And peace out. We are gonna pause here, and I'm gonna record the recordings for the next group. So in the next little bit, we are gonna try to explain the cards for the people whose Venus is in mutable signs. So if your Venus landed in Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces, this is sort of the cards that you'll be looking at. And these cards are the Vision Tarot. They're black, and my desk is black. So I try my best to show you how that would look like. So pick your numbers and go to the timestamps below, and we'll start your reading. So, if you pick number one is the Ten of Wands, and it talks about your lesson in 2018 is time to delegate responsibility. So, you often feel like you have to do things yourself. You want to get anything done. You felt like you have to be responsible for the other person, and you think this is the only way how relationships works. However, this means that you also blame yourself for what goes wrong in life, in relationships, which may not be true at all. It's time to recognize that others have to learn their mistake too. This is the card that I picked. And I have to tell you, this is like spot on, because I'm the type of person who I'm a pleaser kind of type, and I am a very responsible person. In some of the things that I do, I would say the Aries part of me comes into play sometimes, but most of the times I'm very responsible. And if, let's say, if there's something wrong that went on at work or in a relationship, and the first thing that usually came into my mind is that, oh my god, is it me? Did I do something wrong? Could I do something better? Did I miss anything? And then I'm the type of person who will do like self-reflections from time to time, who will, like, after an event that I planned, I will literally wrote like a self-report kind of thing. So that's sort of what's going on with the Ten of Wands, is that you took too much responsibilities. And it's a wonderful thing when you're a responsible person, but it's not so great when the other person is not, right? If both person in the relationship takes a lot of responsibilities, that's great. But when you're the only person that's taking too much responsibility and the other person is not, that's not so great at all. So in 2018, this card is asking you to delegate your responsibility. You know, the other person has to grow up a little bit, right? Or they just have to learn that, you know, you can't, you know, there's a saying that relationship, it's like a piggy bank, right? Love is like a piggy bank. You have to put money in so that you can take out money. You can't always be putting money in and the other person kept taking it out, right? Every time you do something for the other person, you put a coin in your piggy bank. Every time the other person do something for you, you take one out, right? And marriage is like, you two have this share piggy bank. And if one person kept putting money in and the other person kept taking it out, you're gonna tire yourself out really soon, emotionally and physically. So this card is asking you not to do that, to start delegating your responsibility. And I also want to mention this because this is a very, very strange reason that I brought this up. 10 of Wands, because this is like an overflowing energy. This is like too much energy. This is actually not the 10 is the perfect number. In the minor arcana, when you have the 10 of anything, that means that it's too much. And okay, first of all, I have to apologize with all the banging noise in the background, because what happened is that my dad, even though it's 8:45, he's still like, there's rental things that he's doing. So if that ignores you, I apologize. Okay, back to the topic. The reason that I brought up about this is because there was some, if you're in a relationship that has gaslighting, like you're in an abusive relationship and you get this card, it's time to seek help. Okay, I want you to start looking for help. Stop blaming yourself, because the other person has a lot to do with this. And the reason I'm saying that was because I was in some sort of gaslighting relationship for a while. And the only reason that it didn't really break me completely was because like, I'm a very strong person. Like, compared to most of my friends, I'm like a very strong person. But guess what? Even at the end of that relationship, I was doubting myself like crazy. Like, because I felt like the relationship destroyed me. Like, it did not only make me like doubt myself, my work ability, you know, ethically as a person, you know, it really destroyed me. And that's what abusive relationships gonna do. It's gonna break you because the other person wants to control you completely. That's very unhealthy. And if you get the 10 of Wands, the other person, if they're not the right person for you, and if they're the abuser, they're gonna use this to their advantage. So if you get this card, seek help. Sometimes, and I'm not saying everyone is all the narcissist. I can't say anything right now because I'm very emotional right now. The narcissist in a relationship, the abuser, the person who gaslight, they might not be a bad person. They just have very, very, very not so good technique in terms of building a relationship. Okay. I mean, if they're psychotic and if they are serial killer, right? That's another story. That's criminal offenses, right? Like no, that's different. I'm talking about people who has been hurt before, who might come from a broken family, and this is how they know love, right? And maybe they still have a chance to be a better person, but the change has to come from them. Do not try to pretend that you're the princess that's gonna turn them around. You can't. Professional help is what is gonna help them. Okay? Let the professional do their job. You just be you. Okay? So here's my advice. You just be you. Stop blaming yourself. Delegate responsibility. And if they need help, they need to get help. You don't do anything. You don't recommend help, okay, at all. You just take care of yourself, okay? So that's for 10 of Wands. If you're in a hurtful situation, like I mentioned before, for those of you who are in a bad situation, take care, okay? So number 2 is, if you pick number 2, you have the Page of Swords in the upright position. The Page of Swords usually means too much dreaming and not enough actions. So you might have an ideal image of how you want your relationship, but you don't take actions to actualize it. It is hard to know if your ideal image of love or relationship is reasonable or if it's truly what you want at all, because you don't take any actions. You need to spend some time reviewing your ideal and understand why you want certain things in love and relationship. So this is for like single, if you're, doesn't matter if you're single dating or if you're having like a permanent partner, there's gonna always be things that we want, right? And the reason that I want to emphasize this is that because we're sort of in a culture where like there's a lot of different things that come into, you know, that affects us. And okay, first of all, before we go there, I have to apologize. My dad, sort of after 30 minutes of banging and drilling, now he comes to vacuuming. So if you hear vacuums in the background, I apologize. I'm sorry. So okay, back to the topic. If you have this card, Page of Swords, the reason that we have a lot of ideal things right now about love and relationships is because there's too much Hollywood, there's too much MTV, there's mainstream media, there's, you know, what we think about like fashions, the all the things, you know, that make right now. It's like you need more makeup, you need more clothes, you need more shoes. Nothing lasts anymore. Have you ever had that shoes that you don't wear for a while and then the heel just fell off? That kind of things. So that's kind of like that. There's too much that influence our taste, that shape our taste as what we think as an ideal relationship, right? We want our lover to be our friend, our lover and our father a little bit, to take care of us, right? That's a lot to be in one person. I mean, even if you're a guy, like you want your wife to be like sexy, and you can take them outside to like show off, so they have to be like perfect somehow, and then like they also have to like provide you the sense of home, take care of your kids, educate your kids, right? It's like a lot of work for both sex. And it's time to start recognize what is the absolute that you need in the relationship. Because only through understanding that, then you sort of understand, oh, actually that's very important for me. What I recommend is to, it doesn't matter if you're single, you're dating somebody, or if you're in a long-term partnership. I always recommend you to do some self-exploration to understand yourself. For you, the people who pick the Page of Swords, I recommend you to go on to YouTube, Google TED Talks, and the other part of the field that I want you to Google. So TED Talks, online dating, okay? Or like, yeah, online dating. There's this mathematician talks about how she cracks the online dating site. It's funny, it's hilarious, and it's very, very logical things to watch. And she talks about how she brings that reality into data. And she basically, what she did is she made this long list of all the traits that she wanted her partner, and somehow using some sort of method, you have to watch the video, I'm not going to tell you right away, and then find her partner right now online through OkCupid, I think. So do that, watch that. This will give you great understanding for yourself. The other exercise I want you to try is to build a list of all the traits that you want on your partner, ideal partner, and you start crossing them off one by one until you came to the last 5, okay? And those are your absolute cores. And when you're doing this exercise, like, avoid putting things that a good person should already have. Like, you know, they need to treat you well. That's like basic, right? They need to work. Like, in this day and age, if there's your partner doesn't work and you're trying to raise family, it's hard, right? And so they need to work. Maybe that's like a basic. I mean, for some of you, like you wealthy, rich you out there, maybe that's not a plus, but you know, for most of the people, like that's like a basic, right? You know, have to be a good person. Well, I mean, define good, but like wanting to be in a relationship, that's like basic. Okay, that's not even like a bonus. Like when we talk about this, like, you know, like they have to come from a good family, those are the bonus, right? So separate your bonus from your basic and start crossing off things from the bonus side till you have the last 5, okay? So that will give you an idea what are the actual things that you value. The reason I said this was a long time ago when I first started to make that list. I put down must understand Mandarin on that list as the bonus. And for the longest while, I thought that was kind of like the thing that needs to happen. And let me tell you, that's definitely not the case anymore. I mean, yes, I came from Taiwan. My English is not perfect. But you know, after studying in music, I get really comfortable of speaking in English all the time. Maybe there's still accents, maybe there's still words that doesn't come out right from time to time, but you know, I get really comfortable, so that's no longer on my bonus list anymore. So hooray for me, I have 1 extra space to fill something in. So work on your bonus list, and that will give you some actualization into your ideal life. So in 2018, stop or do less dreaming, do more action, okay? Have fun. Even that means you have to take your partner to somewhere. Stop talking about it. Make that trip go, okay? Have fun. If you are the number 3 people that pick this card, it's called the Knight of Wands, and it's in its upright position. A lot of the Wands cards have to deal with like travel, change, because Wands is so the Wands are the club cards. and they talk about passion. So when there's a lot of passion and a lot of energy within somebody, you are compelled to move forward, right? It's kind of like you have a lot of momentum in an object. It's gonna with not enough friction, it's gonna start moving, right? Well, talking about physics. If that's not correct, then not correct me. I mean, I'm not a science person. And so the wands cards all have this compelling need to change or to travel, to move. So the wands card is like the fire card, like the fire signs. And when the Knight of Wands is in the upright position, it means that you want to. There's this change that's gonna come that generate from within. And the card is asking you to take your positivity and passion to conquer things, like, you know, whether it's people, difficulties, you know, that you might have in life. You might prefer to be straightforward when communicating with others. Now, here's the trick. Please keep other people's emotion in mind when you communicate. So that's sort of the 2018 main theme or lessons are A, to take your positivity and passion to conquer or to win over other people or the situation, to overcome the situation, but do it kindly, do it kindly with kind words. Don't, because you have all these energy bouncing around within you, there's excitement, you're excited, but don't let that becomes the reason why you all of a sudden become this less patient, mean person, right? You can be you can have a lot of momentum but still be kind to others. So that's the trick for you to have a better love life in 2018. For the person or the people who pick number 4, the number 4 is 8 of Wands in the inverted position. And usually the 8 of Wands symbolize travel, free flowing of energy. 8 of Wands is this very, very magical card that sort of have this like balanced state of energy, good fortune, and everything. But when it's inverted, you have passion but no foundation to support your passion. Passion in this situation is not enough. There might be a bit of the delay by reoccurring unresolved issues. There might be a discourse in relationship because of like jealousy or arguments. So when there is like an inverted card within the number cards other than the aces, we go back to the number before to examine what are the lessons that you have to learn. So if we go back to wand number 7, 7 of Wands, success from perseverance is very important. Overcome challenges such as new promises. So overcoming challenges such as new promises or old issues. So basically there's things that you have to spend time with. You have to keep working on it. And this is like reoccurring things that you haven't fully dealt with in the past. I find that usually when this card comes out, instead of new promises, I feel like it's things that you haven't really, like, it's usually a old things and then occurring things that you haven't dealt with that somehow start showing up in a new situation. Okay, so not only like you have to solve the things for the new situation, and you have to look back and say, the reason that led to this reoccurring thing happening is because A, B, and C, right? So now you have to solve 2 things at the same time. So lots of patience, lots of perseverance. So for your 2018 love life, you are very close to you know, you have, okay, so this card and the other card that you see from the Cardinal reading, they have the World, which is they're in the more balanced state. You have the Wands, so you basically you're like the go person, and you have this passion, this energy that you want to put in use. The other stuffs are not so balanced compared to the inverted World card. When you have the inverted Eight of Wands, you have this energy that's not flowing correctly. It's like a fire energy, right? So imagine if there's like a conflicting, tormented fire that's not spinning in the right directions. It feels like it's energy bouncing back and forth, and so that's what it feels like. Okay, there seems to be no guidance, no foundations to support all that energy. So that this is like kind of yucky feelings. Like it's kind of like I have go-karts in like bumping cars. That's like, you know how like we go to like theme parks, there's like cars bumping each other. That's kind of like how I feel. Like you have this like bumping forces like crashing into each other. And in order for you to move on, like to go through your journey, is to go back, take some time to redirect that energy, whether it's to give patience to let them let the energy sort out their selves, or you start like going into the mix and say, this is how I want it, this is how, like, you go here, you go there, right? It's kind of like it's kind of like, let me find a good thing to say. Okay, it's kind of like, you know how in Canada, well, I mean, if you're not in Canada, I apologize. Sometimes that's the case. Like, you're on the internet and you have viewers that's not from Canada. So in Canada, or in BC specifically, you have this rule that when the traffic light signals fails, so if it's like flashing red light or it's just completely went black, we suddenly obey this rule. It's called like the four-way stop rule. So the four different sides take turns to well, I mean, like, it's just like the two ways, like the east and west and the south, north and south, the two separate traffic will take turns to move. Okay, and it's kind of like that. It's kind of like all of a sudden the traffic light just shut down, and people had this like moment of panic of not knowing what to do. And that's kind of like the energy is like, you move or I move, or did he move first, kind of the thing. You either let the rule of the traffic start ruling itself. Like, for example, there's the rule in Canada, the four-way stop. You start letting the rule take place a little bit and to sort of find its flow, or you literally send a traffic cop there and direct traffic. Okay, so that's the two options there. But you know, if you send a police to traffic that situation, be nice, right? You don't want a cop like cursing, being rude, being racist to like direct traffic, right? Nobody's gonna be happy out of that traffic. So when you do that, when you send a traffic cop to sort out your energy within yourself, be nice to yourself. You know, the reason I'm saying this is like, you know, there's a very typical, like, guys will be like, suck it up, princess. Like, you know, it's nothing. Be a guy, be a man, like, be tough, right? You have all these like guy talk within you. And sometimes I do that. I guess I grew up with like lots of male cousins, and I know where you're coming from. But, you know, we sometimes that's not the best thing to do, because then there's in other sessions we talk about like there's femininity and masculinity in each of us, and it's kind of like the yin yang in each of us. And you not only you have to cultivate your gender energy, you also have to cultivate your opposite sex energy. And so don't be mean to yourself. That's what I'm saying. Be kind. Analyze the situation. Do what you have to do, and that's it. Don't be mean to yourself. Okay. Enjoy life. Learn to have perseverance to overcome your challenges so you can enjoy life. Okay. So you can enjoy life without fear or constraint. So that's your lesson for 2018, is to have perseverance, overcome challenges. Okay? If you pick now card number 5, and the card number 5 is the Three of Wands. And the Three of Wands specifically talks about journey. So and this is a good card to have. Like, you're currently in a balanced state and you're ready for growth and development. It is time. It sometimes can mean a deeper promise. So, the Three of Wands, it's not the ultimate goal, right? This is like a part of the smaller journeys that will lead to major arcana cards, which is the bigger journey. And so in the normal traditional tarot is that you learn all the small journeys that you make through the 1 to 10, the Ace to 10 in each different suit, and then you bring all those experiences to the major arcana cards, because you're gonna put all that knowledge in the bag and start traveling with it. So that's sort of like the journey. So this is only a small part of your journey, but this is the good part where you're sort of like a boat that just made the temporary stop on the way to things. But don't get too comfortable. I think the Three of Wands is trying to say to you, it's great. It's comfortable where you are right now. You know, it's kind of like you're going from, you're going from like, you're going from Toronto down to Caribbean right now, because Toronto is like cold right now, right? And you're going to the Caribbean. Yeah, it's comfortable. You just stop somewhere in between. You let's stop over at Boston. Or like, before we go down to the Caribbean, let's stop at Boston. So, you're like, this is great. I love the city. I love the weather, whatever. And don't get too comfortable, because there's still journey that you have to go through, right? So that's basically what it's trying to say. Don't get too comfortable. Be prepared to move on when the changes happen. So basically, like, be on your walls, and be quick on your feet when the changes come. Be prepared. But right now, just take a seat back and enjoy the views, because living in the moment is also very important. It's kind of like what people says, that makes our life fuller is not the money we earn. It doesn't matter of how great of a car we drive. It's the memories that shape us who we are. It's the memories that we kept in our hearts that matters the most. So we're gonna end this reading here today with that thought. Enjoy where you are right now, and enjoy the scenery. Makes lots of memories, so you'll be ready for the next stage of your life. Okay, peace out. Thank you for listening. We will see you in our next reading. The next reading we're gonna do is a career reading. Angela and I, we haven't really fully decided how we're gonna do it yet, but we will post the sort of the reading. We usually, what we do is like, before we make the audio version of the answer, we usually post like our quote unquote questions, or like the activity, like, you know, we want us to pick your card, something like that, about 2 weeks before we release the audio explanation part. So you'll probably see that in another 2 weeks. And, you know, follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram account is Le Secret Wellness. So LESSECRETS, and then wellness, WELLNESS, Le Secret Wellness. Or we're on Facebook as well. If you search Le Secret Wellness, you will find us. Or if you search Le Secret, I think you'll also find us that way as well. So follow us on Facebook fan page and Instagram, and the webpage is on the go. Like we're still working on it. There's lots of stuff that we want to tweak. Like, for example, like this recording is like the third or fourth recording that Angela and I made throughout the 1 month or so. So be patient. Remember that we're sending lots of love your way. Send lots of us back to us by giving us likes, by giving us feedback. If you want to make donation, let us know. If you want a personal reading, let us know. And we will have more information as our journey goes along. Thank you for listening in. Peace out. Bye-bye.